Hi there. You have Gina and Shannon coming back at you today. We're going to talk again about meal planning. So, if you watched our last short video, we talked about how to start meal planning if it's something that you don't do today. Talked a little bit more about, what's the easiest way to just get in the groove to start planning some meals for yourself and your family. And so we thought we'd take it to a little bit of a level two today and go in a little more in depth on how to meal plan for various situations, for your own schedule, for your week, for your family, and make sure it kind of fits your lifestyle, and maybe talk a little bit about some unique ideas that you might not have thought of before about how to make it a little bit easier on yourself. So say hi, Shannon. Get your face in there.
Hi.
There she is. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to keep it short again, like we always do. I know that everybody's schedules are busy, but first thing, maybe to just get us started. Last time we talked about, just starting with preparing one meal or preparing, some grains or some cut up veggies to start your week off, and something that you have as you start, on a Sunday afternoon that you can get together for the week so that you have that in the fridge. Now, for a lot of people who I think are watching this, your schedule may vary from week to week. It may depend on the season. So maybe you have kids who play sports, and so sometimes they have practice at night or games at night. It makes your schedule in the evenings very busy. You need something that you can take on the go, and that's a little bit harder than just, coming home from work, everybody's home, and you can sit down and have meals. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about some ideas that you can put together in advance that can just be ready very quickly, and things that you could even, kind of take with you if you need to be out the door. So let's start there. Shannon, I know you had a great idea to do some burrito-like meals. So those are an easy way to get started with some portable meal prep. So what do you usually do when you think about those kinds of things?
Yeah, so when I'm making like burritos and stuff, I've totally forgot how many variations you can make. And so I'll put together like all my tortillas and make like an assembly line on my counter space. And then I'll put like rice, beans, potatoes, eggs, depending on what I want to make. Because you can make breakfast burritos, lunch, dinner, and you can make them up to about a week ahead of time. And then just grab them, throw them in the microwave if you want, or if you have more time, you can toss them in the oven to heat up. And then you're out the door with them. And they're all contained, so you don't have to worry about needing a fork and a knife and a bowl and a spoon and all this other stuff. So you can eat on the go. You can throw them in your bag if you really want to. Like, just it's a nice, easy way to have a meal that fits in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of those, I imagine, if you want to, if you put the whole burrito together in advance, you can kind of individually wrap them and put them in the freezer even, and kind of keep them as freezer meals. And that way, when you have an evening that's really busy, or you're going to be running out the door, you could, grab them, microwave them, like you said, and then be able to take them on the go. Or, even if you just have 15 minutes at home that you need to kind of get some nourishment before you head out the door, that's an easy way to be able to have something ready made and ready to go.
Yeah, because when you do that, like say, because I know like when you were talking about with kids' schedules and stuff, say you have two kids and one's at basketball and one's at lacrosse or soccer or something, and then somebody's working late and it's just one person, you can grab that burrito out of the freezer, nuke it, cook it, whatever you need, and it's a nice meal that you don't actually have to cook again. And it's just for that person. Or you can like dole them out at the door, be like, here you go, here's your dinner before practice.
Yeah.
Something easy like that.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that we were talking about is, you think about Chipotle style or something like that. Maybe you don't want a tortilla with it. If you even put kind of the components together, like you were talking about, Shannon, and kind of get those ready in advance, you can do it as a bowl, have your rice and your beans and your veggies that are ready to go, and kind of just throw it together as a bowl. And maybe that's a little bit less portable, but if you have, 15 minutes at home, that's something that, you don't have to, you can do all the prep in advance and just kind of put it together and have it ready to go before you head out the door. So that's another easy way to do it. It's sort of like the, same concept. If you wanted to do in the summer, you'd like a big salad, you can throw all that together in advance and have it ready in the fridge and ready to go. Another easy thing, and again, not necessarily if you're taking it with you, but just need something that you can grab at home quickly, is I think we talked about a little bit last time, make a big batch of soup and have that soup in the fridge ready to go, because, literally put that in the microwave for 2 minutes and that's a meal in itself. So lots of just things that you can have completely ready to go, and something that you can do in a hurry without having to worry about, okay, what am I going to have for dinner? And thinking, okay, we don't have anything, so I need to stop and, grab fast food.
Well, and the other thing is like when you're storing it and you make it ahead like that, like some people don't want, and most of the time you don't want to do, have like lettuce and salsa touching all the time, because then the lettuce gets all mushy and wilty. But if you have them made ahead of time, and like you've got a little bowl that's got like your cut up salad, and you got a little bowl that's got your salsa, and a little bowl that's got your meat, and then you got one that has your rice. And then say somebody doesn't want salsa on things, they want to add eggs with their rice instead. Then you can kind of piecemeal it like those Qdoba and Chipotle bowls, where like you just put it all together, and that's each individual person's taste.
Yeah.
So you kind of bulk prep without mass producing individual things.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot. Another thing that to keep in mind is, as you think about your schedule for the week, I've talked to clients or friends before who have, everybody has a different schedule, kind of like you were talking about, Shannon. So somebody maybe has practice at 5 o'clock right after school. Somebody has, a 7 o'clock game. So you as the parent may be just running straight from one to the other, and you really don't have the time to sit down and eat something yourself. So then you end up, being the person who's grabbing fast food, or, getting home at 9 o'clock at night and eating a big meal. And then that can impact your sleep. That can impact, your metabolism, everything else. So another idea that we've talked about is really thinking about maybe just switching up the types of meals you have at different times of day. So instead of thinking about having a big dinner every night, when it's really not realistic that at 9 o'clock at night you're going to come home and one, cook, two, eat that big a meal and try to go to bed, is, make your bigger meals earlier in the day. So a lot of us are bad about either skipping breakfast, or, breakfast might be a granola bar as you run out the door, where making sure that you eat a good breakfast, fuel yourself before you start your day is really important. And it's another way that you can sort of front load your calories in the beginning of the day, and then kind of your meals lighten up as you go throughout the day. So making it easier in the evening, instead of coming home and thinking about a big meal, maybe you're just having a smoothie, or maybe you're, just having something smaller that's gonna, not gonna sit in your stomach while you're trying to, get ready for bed and have to, try to work around sleep schedule and everything else. So that's another idea that we've talked a little bit about.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of follows the like everyone, well, most people have heard the if it fits your macros idea, and that's like where you get a set amount of calories, and a certain percentage of each of those is like protein, fat, and carbs. And so people are like, oh, cool, I'm allowed to eat X amount of things. It's the same concept, just only looking at calories. And so like say you've got, I like easy math, 1,500 calories for the day, then you front end and have like a 500 calorie or 750 calorie meal for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner, whichever one you have the most time and flexibility with. And then you just divide out your remainder across your snacks and meals the rest of the day. And that way you're not sitting there and be like, okay, well, I had a granola for lunch, and I had a small sandwich or granola for breakfast, small sandwich for lunch. And then you're trying to figure out dinner. It's like, I don't have time to cook, and I've had another granola bar, or I stopped by Mickey D's or something, fill in blank here. And now I've had 4,000 calories for the day because that one Burger King meal was 2,000 already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, some, depending on timing, like you said, when do you have your most time during the day? And maybe the mornings are still busy for you. Maybe morning, evening, both are busy. There are still quick options, make ahead options that you can do for a larger breakfast. So, whether that's hard boiling some eggs, you could have, yogurt and with some nuts and fruit that you put in that, and think about doing a combination of those things. It's also great to try to fit in some veggies with your breakfast, especially if that's going to be your bigger meal. So doing scrambled eggs with vegetables, even just, sometimes just changing your perspective on what counts as a breakfast food. There's really no reason that you can't have a salad for breakfast, or, sweet potatoes are another great thing to have early in the day, and you're getting the nutrients from those sweet potatoes. Um, there's a different way if you think about like a quinoa bowl. That would be actually a great breakfast too. So you could make quinoa with sweet potatoes and some bell pepper and some other vegetables that you like in there, and that can be a great start to the day because you're getting a lot of good nutrients and something like that. So I think it's also maybe just switching your perspective a little bit on what counts as breakfast.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of places now offer breakfast. Like I was in Qdoba the other day and I saw that they're now offering breakfast. I'm like, that's new, but it's the same concept. They're making the burritos that we talked about. And so if you just kind of switch how you're saying, like switch instead of thinking like breakfast has to be cereal or a muffin or scrambled eggs or whatever. If you just add in and be okay with having something a little bit different, something that looks a little bigger, and it'll be fine.
Right. Right. And I think a lot of us are just, it's just been the way that we've lived that, we always have our bigger meal in the evening. Your body will adjust. So if you start to, do your bigger meals in the first half of the day and do something lighter in the evening, you will adjust to that. So, I think some people might start to think, well, I'm just going to be starving for the evening if I do it that way. But you do get used to it. So that's an option. If your schedule is more, conducive to doing heavier meals first half of the day, it's also a very healthy way to do things. So, we won't go too in depth on some of the concepts that are out there right now, but, intermittent fasting, I know you probably get a lot of questions about that methodology, and it, good or bad. I think part of the trouble with it sometimes is that we all tend to do it the opposite direction of maybe what's healthy for you. So, and a lot of people skip breakfast, have a late lunch, and eat late at night, and then don't eat again until early afternoon the next day, which may not be the best way to do it. But if you reverse that, having your bigger lunch or bigger breakfast, bigger lunch, and just an early late dinner might be a healthier way to do something like that too. But maybe that's for episode 3.
Yeah. Well, and something to that point is thinking about what you have going on, like you yourself. Like if you have a workout that you need to like fit in, and like you're already doing your workout in your morning or you're doing your workout in your evening, you have to figure out when you're going to eat before and after that, because you want to have fuel for your workout. And some people are like, well, what about fasted cardio and trying to become fat adapted and those kind of fun things? That's a whole rabbit hole we can go down. But like your best workouts come from being fueled properly, however that's going to work. And then you have to recover like when you're super sore, like your muscles are rebuilding. And so figuring out if you're going to work out in the morning, you should probably have something maybe lighter to go through your workout, because I don't know many people that can sit down and have breakfast and then do a full workout and not have some kind of like GI issues. So like light snack before the workout and then have your main meal afterwards to refuel yourself and get yourself ready for the day. That way you're jump started with your metabolism, but also going to be ready to keep moving on because you already started on a really good note.
Yeah, great point to consider your workout for the day and how to fit both things in, because you're right, if you get up, have a giant breakfast, and then want to try to get your workout in, that's going to be tough. So kind of arranging your schedule around what works there too is great. The other thing in the last few minutes that we have here today too is just, as you're thinking about it, some of you might be thinking too about, well, what about for the kids? If they are the ones that have sports in the evening and, they're out just as late and aren't getting home until 8 or 9 o'clock, how do I feed them properly with the schedules that we have? And I do think there are some ideas for that too. We already talked about kind of the burrito concept, and that's something that certainly can work for an on-the-go option for kids, and it'll, give them the right fuel to be able to get through what they're doing. Healthy smoothies are another, great option that might be, something they have an hour before their game or their practice that can give them the proper nutrients to do well with that too. The other thing that I think can be helpful is kind of a bento box concept. So, having a bowl full of different things, similar to the burrito concept, but maybe you've got some pre-cut veggies in one bowl, you've got some fruit that's been prepped in another bowl, You might have those hard-boiled eggs that you've made. Maybe you've got a little sandwich roll that you've made in advance. But those are all little things that you can kind of put in a 4-compartment bento box, and that's something that they can take in the car with them too, or take to school and have, after school before practice. Something along those lines is a little bit easier to make it a portable option, and then you're not also, having to stop and get fast food for them after practice because they're starving.
Right. Well, and there's also like options of things like if you've got those things already made ahead, using sticky rice and make like a casserole, for lack of a better description. And so like you take like a 9x13 or an 8x8, however many ingredients you have, and you sticky rice, you mix the other things in that you said, like the veggies or the bacon or the eggs or the taco meat or whatever it is, and you use that and you press it down and then you refrigerate it. You can cut it up and it works just like a brownie. And so you just pick a piece up just like you would a brownie, and that's what you can go on the go.
That's a fun concept. I haven't tried that before.
Yeah, I tried that with biking. Actually, it's a lot of the Tour de France guys use it, and they're called portables, obviously. And you just wrap them up in foil for individual things. You just grab and go. And so depending on what you need, like put in them, they can be refrigerated or not.
Yeah.
And that way you can put everything together and not be like, okay, you need forks and hands, and oh, by the way, you're driving. That's not going to work.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Little things like that are fun.
That's a great idea. Yeah, because it's still important to, a lot of obviously what happens when you get to the point with kids where, they get so busy in the evenings is just you end up getting fast food. They get no veggies, they get no fruit in their diet, and that ends up being a problem. So these are ways to just kind of fit nutrition into their diet without having to spend a ton of time cooking all the time, but still being able to get them some good stuff in their diet.
Yeah. Like when you're doing that and you're trying to figure out what everyone can eat and when they can eat.
Right.
And like that way you're not stuck like eating fries.
Yes.
You put things all together and you're like, okay, well, Burger King has this, but other creative like pancake ideas, like
noise downstairs. Pardon the interruption. We'll make him go. We'll make him go outside. He does get fired up as soon as he hears something outside, so apparently somebody must be driving by.
So I heard it's funny you didn't go after that.
That was a little hello from Xavier for the afternoon.
He's a hello, it's fine.
Yeah, maybe that was his signal to us too that we've reached our time limit for our discussion today, and he's telling us wrap it up.
Fine, give me a snack, I'm done.
Right. He's ready to go. Well, good. I think hopefully some more good tips that we've been able to give here around meal prep, and we'll kind of keep going on this topic, a little bit more advanced as you've practiced different things and see what fits into your lifestyle. If you do have questions or things that you'd like us to address, maybe, let us know that either on social media, if you have our email address for contacts. Would love to hear from you too on things that you'd like us to talk about. So maybe that's another way that we just make sure we're hitting on the topics that are important to you guys. So any last words before we wrap it up for today, Shannon?
I was just going to say, some of those ideas we've talked about, I'm going to turn into like little recipes and link them down in the comments section, kind of in the description. And that way people can actually have them instead of like just hearing about, hey, that sounds like a good idea. How did you do that? But yeah, and then if you have questions on how things are made, either one of us, we cook all the time, so we're very happy to answer all those questions and shortcut some ways to make it easier and more convenient.
Definitely we can do that. Okay, good. Well, thanks for joining us today, and keep an eye out. As I mentioned last time, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channels, which is where we put these videos, and that way you'll get notified whenever we put something new out there as well. So have a great week, and we'll be back with you again soon.